Anxiety didn't disappear from my life because I forced it out. It disappeared when I stopped treating it like an enemy and started meeting it like a message. Understanding anxiety was only the beginning. The real transformation started when I began changing the way I related to myself. For years, my reactions were automatic, predictable, survival responses built on old wounds, patterns so old that they felt like personality instead of protection. My mind controlled everything, and my body simply followed, responding to fears that didn't exist in the present moment. I lived in the future, in the what-ifs, never in the moment I was actually living. Always somewhere else, always ahead of myself. When I finally realized this, I understood that healing meant something deeper, not controlling anxiety, but retraining my unconscious mind. The unconscious doesn't change with logic. It changes through repetition, presence, and new emotional experiences that have enough strength to rewrite the old ones. That's where my real journey began, not with control, but with awareness. The first shift was learning to observe myself, something I had never truly done. I had spent years drowning inside my emotions, believing every thought, reacting to every sensation, fighting every fear as if it were real. One day I decided to try something different. Instead of getting lost inside the emotion, I stepped one step back. And I watched, without judgment, without panic, without trying to fix anything. I observed the thoughts, the sensations, the discomfort, as if they belonged to someone else. Not to detach from life, but to detach from the story, because the story was the real prison. Questions began to rise naturally. What am I trying to control right now? Which part of me feels unsafe? What emotion is hiding behind this anxiety? These questions created space, and in that space, the emotion could exist without becoming my identity. This was the birth of presence, the moment I realized that anxiety is loud only when you're not listening. Once you observe it, it begins to lose its power. Then came the mantra, a simple sentence, but the hardest truth to accept. I love and accept myself as I am. The first time I said it, my entire body resisted. My mind exploded with thoughts. My skin started itching. My chest tightened as if something inside me was being threatened. And it was. My unconscious was defending the old identity, the one built on survival and fear. For an entire lifetime, I had survived on the opposite belief. I'm not enough, I need approval, I must prove myself. These beliefs were familiar, predictable, and predictability for the unconscious feels safer than happiness. When you tell the unconscious something new, it resists. It protects the identity built on wounds because wounds are known. So I found a way around the resistance, through consistency and repetition. I recorded myself saying the mantra in my own voice, then added 7 Hz theta waves in the background. Theta is the brainwave state of meditation, hypnosis, subconscious openness, the place where the mind becomes receptive. Every day, for 4 to 6 weeks, I listened, letting the words enter me without forcing anything. Some days, nothing happened, nothing changed, nothing moved. Other days, emotional storms rose from nowhere, as if my system was reorganizing itself from the inside. I kept listening without expectations, without pressure, trusting the process even when the process felt empty. And slowly, silently, something began to shift. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but naturally, like a seed opening underground. It felt as if the mantra stopped being a sentence and became something alive inside me. Then came the mirror, the place where truth doesn't hide. I realized I couldn't even look at myself without discomfort. I couldn't talk to myself. I couldn't hold my own gaze. That's when I understood that I didn't accept myself. Not truly, not in the ways that matter. So I began a new ritual, simple but powerful. Every day I stood in front of the mirror and looked into my own eyes, not to judge, but to acknowledge the person standing there. And I said, I am a good person. I can help people who feel lost. I am worth it. Life becomes lighter when I stay in the present. At the beginning, it felt fake, uncomfortable, even embarrassing. But day after day, my gaze became softer, my voice warmer, and the resistance slowly dissolved. Not because I convinced myself, but because I finally allowed myself to see who I had always been. Months passed before anything felt natural. Healing is slow, repetitive, and almost invisible at the beginning. People imagine healing as a breakthrough, a big moment, a transformation you can feel. But healing is boring, consistent, subtle. The kind of change you only notice in hindsight. There were months when I practiced the mantra, listened to theta waves, stood in the mirror, and felt absolutely nothing. But inside, something was always changing. New neural pathways were forming. Old emotional patterns were dissolving. The unconscious was releasing its old identity. Science confirms this. Every 7 years, your entire cellular structure renews itself, and cells carry emotional memory. When you change the emotional environment, you change the chemistry. You change the system from the inside out. When you repeat new patterns, you rewire automatic responses. When you face the mirror, you reconnect with the self you abandoned. And one day, without realizing it, something was different. Situations that once triggered anxiety didn't trigger anything. They felt neutral, almost distant. People who once had power over me now felt equal. Their presence no longer activated old wounds. Thoughts that once created storms passed like clouds, noticed but not followed. The anxiety that once controlled me had nothing left to hold on to. I didn't become fearless, I simply stopped resisting fear. When you stop abandoning yourself, life stops feeling like a threat. Anxiety fades when the identity beneath it changes. That's the real healing. Not eliminating anxiety, but transforming the self it was trying to protect. Because anxiety was never my enemy. It was my alarm, my messenger, my inner child asking for help. And when you finally answer that call, everything shifts, not suddenly, but profoundly. If my journey resonates with you, share it in the comments. Tell me if you've ever tried a mantra or looked at yourself in the mirror and what came up for you. Your experience might help someone else feel less alone. Your voice may bring clarity to someone still lost in their thoughts. And if you want to keep walking this journey with me, subscribe and stay close. We continue step by step, from emotional addiction to awareness to life.